still talking about the January through March 2015 weight loss campaign that the company initially started with all of us, and we're doing it in conjunction with Jackie McCoy. And I have just been hearing fabulous feedback from people about Jackie McCoy and her the phone calls that she does with Dr. Jamie and her audio, her videos. So it's great that we have her to work with us as a partner in our goal of helping our family in the world lose their 40,000 pounds. And of course, and it's about being healthier. Like it says, it's new wardrobes, new dress sizes, brighter smiles, but it's less aches and pains. It's fewer medications. It's fewer health issues. So there's the whole health.
Lower cholesterol, lower blood sugar levels, lower blood pressure. Exactly. And it's such a great time of year. I mean, it's really starting to feel just a touch like spring now, which means we're going to have to get into some clothes in a few weeks. And it's just it just feels like spring is a time for making some changes. So there's our wonderful product line. And I'm not hearing Ashley yet, but I'm still watching for her here.
She says she can hear and see.
Oh, Ashley, can you? Now we may have her. Ashley?
Hello? Yes.
There she is.
Hey. I've been talking to myself for the past 15 minutes.
Then we do that all the time. And nothing unusual. Anyway, well, tell us, Ashley, first of all, if you would, we have probably 6 minutes here, first share with them your story so they know who you are, and then what you're doing around the Shaklee 180 product line and some of the results you're getting with that.
Sure. So I was introduced to Shaklee about 2.5 years ago, and about 6 months after being introduced to Shaklee, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and unfortunately had almost 80% of my cervix removed. And after a bout of depression and weight gain just from sort of facing the fears that I might never have children, I decided to try the Shaklee 180 program that had been launched the very month that I had surgery. And I really wanted to try this just to get my life back and sort of accept the truth that I could not have children, but still be able to love my life and feel good and feel confident. And I had the most wonderful transformation, and I won the Lean and Healthy competition and was flown to San Francisco and had sort of this surreal Cinderella moment. But what I didn't realize was that way beyond losing weight and feeling great, I was able to get pregnant. And after, against all the odds, I was pregnant and had the most wonderful pregnancy. Used Shaklee, obviously, 100% of the time throughout my entire pregnancy, and now have a healthy 26-pound 9-month-old who is running circles around me already. So I used Shaklee 180 throughout my entire pregnancy, before obviously, and then after. I had a really great transformation after. The weight really just fell off because I was using it the whole time, and I think my body was trained on what to do with fat and muscle and how to stay healthy. And I think that's why I really pushed that lifestyle. It's not this fad. It's not this 30-day thing. This is a life-changing product that can make you feel great and look great, 100% of the time. So because I have such a strong passion for 180 and what it's done for me, I have had several Facebook events to share this product and have offered a what I call Better Together incentive group, which is a group where I invite people to join me, so it's not just them, but it's me as well on this Shaklee 180 journey. Because again, even though I'm at my ideal weight, I'm always using Shaklee, and I'm always trying to stay healthy and be healthy. And it's so great to have accountability and support and people who get it and people who have that like-minded love for a healthy lifestyle. So I created this Better Together group, which has been phenomenal. I actually have 2 of them now, and I have gained the most wonderful friendships and relationships with women that are very like-minded and have used Shackley to change their life, from huge weight loss transformations to, I have 3 women who are now pregnant, which is so extraordinary. And they're also wondering if I'm giving them something that makes them extra fertile.
I know. That could also be bad for business, too, Ashley. You've got to watch that one. Yeah. Okay.
And so just women in all walks of life. I've had 2 of these women join the business because they found such a great passion in just Shackley 180. And I believe there was a lot of power behind being with women who get it and women who are doing it with you and having that support, because it's just because we all believe that it's such a wonderful lifestyle change does not make it any easier to stick with it every day and to not get burned out or to not just fall off the wagon, so to speak. And so this group has been amazing. I have added, let's see, around 30 auto ships in the past month and a half of 180 kits, between the Lean and Healthy, the Smoothie Kit, and the Turnaround Kit, all of which are women that are in these Better Together groups. And like I said, also 2 new business builders who started as just 180 users. And the stories are amazing. It's so great to be a part of something and see everybody's stories differ from, like I said, pregnancy to weight loss to just so many of them say, I never even imagined I could feel this great, which is it's such an amazing thing to be a part of.
Love it. So, Ashley, let me just jump in here real quick. I know you've probably done the numbers. I'm sure there's people out there curious. What kind of a PV increase did you see when you started this second Better Together group and kind of added the 30 auto ships?
Okay, so for the first Better Together group was in January, of which I went from about an average of 3,000 PV and 7,000 OV to 13,000 OV and 7,000 PV. So it was a 5,000 PV jump. In March, I added the second Better Together group and obviously continued the first one, and in February. So last month, my OV ended at about 19,000, and my personal PV was almost 12.
That is so exciting.
That is fabulous.
Yeah.
That is fabulous. And then
congratulations.
And so how many business leaders do you have now, Ash?
Business leaders as opposed to business builders?
Well, whatever, both. Uh-huh.
Okay, so I have, first level, I have about 11 total people that are either leaders or working to become leaders, 2 of which are, one's the director and one's a senior director, almost coordinator. And then I have second and third generation as well.
So you've built in depth, and has this been part of the way you've built in depth?
You know, what's the honest truth is that before this, every single builder that I have ever signed up has been a brand new person. Shackley didn't use the products, and I don't know why. I think I can really get people to just jump on board without having to try it. However, I have had, like I said, the 2 people jump on board since trying 180, and I have found that they have so much more motivation and passion and are so much more personally driven. And so I sort of switched gears myself and just working with these members and trying to get them to see the opportunity as opposed to approaching new prospects for the business. Just because it seems that they get it, I guess, in a way that when you start a builder out from scratch, which is so wonderful, and if they don't know Shackley, it's still great. But these 180 girls that have joined the business, they already get it. They already know how amazing Shackley is, and they are already, I mean, both of them have purchased the InfuCell kit, the Get Clean kit, everything on their own before becoming a business because they understand the Shackley philosophy. And so it is my new path is to utilize this for building businesses because I think it can be a lot more beneficial.
Excellent. And so the way you are finding your customers who then become distributors, is that through a Facebook path? How else are you doing that?
Well, being that I am a full-time youth and family therapist, my time is very limited, and obviously a mom. So I have done all of it on Facebook. I would like to say that I have done things outside of it, and I am working on doing things outside of it, but most of it has been on Facebook. I have had, in February, I had one event, or two events actually, January I had two events, February I had 5 events on Facebook, and it was just, I focused on the products, I posted videos, I do a lot of testimonials. That's sort of the way that I build my business. I think that people love real life stories. I mean, they love the science, but they love the stories more, and I think that's what touches people. So I have done it on Facebook, and I have, in the past few months, really, I think, just committed to my belief in wanting to create a business in Shaklee, and have really gotten over a hurdle with myself on approaching people, and just flown through my chicken list, which has turned out to be a lot of people.
But somehow approaching on Facebook it might be a little more comfortable. Is that what you're finding?
Sure. Yeah, it's more comfortable. It's more flexible. I'm typically having these parties while I'm feeding my son dinner and giving him a bath and getting him ready for bed, because I don't get much of that time either. And so it's flexible enough for me where I'm not taking more time away from my family. But it is also easy because it's easy and it's supportive. I'm a part of the Shaklee Moms group, which has been phenomenal. And I have all these women who on these events are also supporting me and liking and commenting things. And so even if no one shows up, which that happens to everybody, I mean, let's be realistic here. Sometimes people just don't show up to your events, and that I've heard several times that in order to become master coordinator, you need to have at least 100 no people at your event. So I'm all for it.
Well, one of our leaders, we always use her as an example, but she built her business on non-events because there's value in inviting people,
Sure.
even if they can't come.
Yeah.
You have opened the topic with them, and they know what kind of a resource you can be to them. So it's wonderful. Ashley, I am just thrilled we have been reluctant to ask you because we know you are crazy not so busy, and just being a mom alone, then a full-time job, and being a therapist, which says to me layers of additional stress, and then this wonderful, incredibly strong Shaklee business. And I just learned that you are going to be coming to Chicago for the Chicago Regional, along with our pal here, Lisa Anderson. So that is going to be a dynamite group yes, it's going to be so great. So thank you for joining us, and
you're welcome.
We just are so proud of what you're doing, and you are inspirational, and we have been doing a series now. This is our for 3 past sessions about Facebook and how to utilize that, and you have just reinforced that all the more. And thank you. Right, it's fabulous. These Facebook events are fabulous.
Yeah, they are.
They're fabulous. So thank you. Have
Nice job.
We will see you in a few weeks in Chicago.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
You're
Thanks,
anytime. Just join us. All right. Bye.
Goodbye, Ashley. Thank you.
Thank you. Isn't she impressive? Oh my
Oh,
God.
I love her.
She's doing so many things with building communities. I just keep telling people she's really got a knack for building communities, and they're doing some other things off of Facebook now that I'm super excited about. So she's just awesome.
Yeah, we gotta talk to her again. But today we're excited about our we have April 15th kind of looking us a month away here, and we're bringing in our resident tax expert and who has helped us navigate how to keep track of these very wonderful tax benefits that you have when you have a small business, but helps us navigate easy ways of doing that. So we are welcoming Master Coordinator Allan Sharapan this morning.
Yay.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Hi, Allan.
Ashley, if you're still on, that was just terrific. And boy, that's one big reason people want to go to Chicago is to see and hear you. And Lisa, you're going to be there too? That's
Yes.
too?
Yay.
Wow. An awesome time that's going to be. Well, I certainly have Barb Lagoni snowed, don't I? Resident expert. Whoa. Well, let's get to the point, because April 15th is coming up, right? And people want to save taxes. Is that true?
Yeah.
Indeed.
My goal is to pay $100,000 in taxes. Just imagine how much money you would be earning. So, what should I say? Just click the next slide? Okay.
Yeah, to say click, and the clicker works, yep.
Okay, terrific. So Uncle Sam says to consult your tax preparer. The presentation today by the resident tax expert is an information guide, and everybody on the call, are not tax planning authorities. So you want to call that our disclaimer, right?
Yes.
Because you need to get the expert advice from the experts. But I'm not going to read everything in every page, but certain pages I feel need to be read and certain things need to be read. This is one of them. Judge Learned Hand said years ago, as it says there in 35, anyone may arrange his affairs, he was a Supreme Court justice, by the way, so that his taxes shall be as low as possible. It's not gender specific, we know. They are not bound to choose that pattern which best pays the Treasury. There's not even a patriotic duty to increase one's taxes. Over and over again, the courts have said that there's nothing sinister in so arranging your affairs as to keep your taxes as low as possible. Everyone does it, rich and poor alike, and all do right. Nobody owes any public duty to pay more than the law demands. So if you're thinking out there, I want to pay my fair taxes, that's okay, but use the tax laws. And as Uncle Sam says here, he wants you to obey the tax law, but take the tax deductions to save tax dollars. And we'll see how that works. Click. So to keep more of your earnings and grow your wealth, you don't really need to understand the tax laws in detail. That's what you're going to hire your tax preparer for, your expert. But there are things you need to know to reduce your tax burden. And the effective strategies, as it says here, by developing a Shackley home-based business, improving the management of your investments, and focused tax planning. Now, when I say to focused tax planning, it's just so you have an awareness as to how to take advantage of these things that you can take advantage of, and then have your tax preparer take the maximum advantage of it. Click. So, Sanford Botkins, he was a previous director of the IRS, said in an article, the IRS says, we love him, we hate him, and at the same time, Sanford has taught people how to use the tax codes and has impacted the level of revenues that come into the tax coffers. And Sandy Botkins says in the bold print, if you don't have a home-based business, start one today. Cost click. The tax codes favor business and not individuals. So if we think that's unfair, well, maybe it is unfair. That's not for us to say. That's the way it is. So what you want to do is take advantage of those tax laws, to take advantage to reduce your tax. Again, the important issue is not how much you earn, but what you get to keep. Okay? Your Shackley home-based business will definitely improve your bottom line. Click.
I'm hearing a lot of paper shuffling in the background coming through from somebody's phone or mic.
I'm not sure. Whoop,
I'm just breathing over here.
I'm not even doing that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Let me make sure my husband's not. No paper rattling over there. Joe's hearing paper rattling. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Of course, this is a paper topic, taxes. Uncle Sam says, I want you to work your Shackley business. And what does that mean? Well, Shackley says, you use share build, 3 simple steps to succeed in Shackley and to satisfy the IRS. Use your Shackley products. Shackley-ize your home. Use and share the business in the products. Use and build. Mentor others to do the same. By doing those 3 simple steps that we see all the time when we do a presentation, we are doing the Shackley business and meeting what the government says we have to do. Work your Shackley business. So while you're working at a job and earning a paycheck, you have a Shackley home-based business that you can perform in your spare time and therefore deduct many expenses that you otherwise may not be able to deduct. And we'll talk about some of those. And again, keep in mind, Uncle Sam wants you to take these tax deductions. Remember, what Judge Learned Hand said. The tax laws are written for the businesses, for you to take advantage of them. Now, we have several pages of these, and I'm not going to cover all of them in detail, but if we have one that you're particularly interested in we don't cover, at the end we'll be able to take some questions, I guess. Put that in the question, we can cover it. But, for example, all these expenses that you have, whether it's accounting, your banking charges for your business account, your accountant's fee, all that, tax deductible. Advertising. Whether you give a free product at an event you have, at a Shockley 180 party, you give out literature, free products, or you advertise in the newspaper, all those advertising or promotional expenses, they're tax deductible. The automobile expenses, we hope you have a log in your car so that you can log your expenses. Because the log is never going to be used unless you're audited. Now, your accountant's going to want to know that you have a log, but probably won't even look at it, but if they do, that's good. But the IRS doesn't mean you have to send your log in. You need to keep that log, and you need to keep a lot of these records so that in case you are audited, you can have the proof. So keeping this log of your automobile expenses can mean a lot of money in your pocket, and that's a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Business use of your home, there are many ways to do that. You have to talk to your preparer as to how they recommend it. Some people take a percentage of square footage. Some people take a rental situation. Your preparer will advise you how they would like you to do that. Continuing education. Now here, to me, is a big one. If you are a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, an accountant, a librarian, a professional person, many of those professions require, and that means you must, on a regular basis get continuing education, which means you pay your way to a conference once every year or whatever it is, to some faraway, usually a nice location, 10 seminars, even though it's in a nice location, and you have fun, but you're attending seminars for continuing educational credits to maintain your profession. Well, unfortunately, Shockley doesn't require that. But if you're a serious business builder, what this means to you is that continuing education is a session like these regionals coming up in Chicago we just talked about, the global conference in Cleveland. These are things you should be going to, using that word should. If you're a serious business builder, you can't wait to get there. But when you go to these continuing education events, those expenses are tax deductible. Okay? Great.
Yeah.
Again, I said I'm not going to cover everything on every page.
And Allan,
Yes?
I've made a document that we will attach all these this list for them.
Good. Okay. So I'm just going to cover some points that maybe need a little clarification. Dry cleaning and laundry. If you do this in conjunction with going to a continuing education training seminar or an incentive trip, that can become tax deductible. And, of course, any education and training. Employing your kids, we're going to talk more about that in detail a little later. Entertainment, if you take somebody out to dinner or a ball game, those things can be deducted with certain requirements. And again, we'll have some literature suggestions at the end where you can get the fine details, because under this entertainment and meal expenses, as we'll see, there are some little things we'll be talking about that you need to know. Freight and postage, any mailings you put out, if you're shipping any packages, if you're saying if people in your group do a certain thing, you're going to cover a portion of the shipping for this week or month or whatever, all that's tax deductible. Click. Gifts and incentives, all these taxes that are listed in there. Employees pay. Well, if you have employees, that's obviously a tax deductible one. We're going to talk about an employee situation, which is even better than just employees. Okay, meals while you're traveling. Whenever you're traveling, keep track of those meals, whether it's at a Starbucks, a Subway, or a Chipotle, or a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, whatever it is, keep track of those meals while you're traveling. Medical and dental expenses. If you set up your business properly, you can have some kind of medical reimbursement plan, so those expenses are deductible for you. Meeting expenses. If you have a meeting in your home and you're serving things, for example, or giving away things, those can become tax deductible. Office supplies you use as a catch-all category. Paper, pens, photocopies, all these things you use in your office, tax deductible. Sales promotional, again, another catch-all type category. Subscriptions and dues. If you're subscribing to an MLM magazine or a Nutrition Awareness magazine or a Success magazine, those subscriptions can become tax deductible. If you have a separate telephone for your business, that makes it real easy to deduct that expense. If you're using your home telephone, then you have to read the rules and be more detailed about that. Transportation expenses, if you're going to Chicago or Cleveland, those kinds of expenses, your transportation, obviously tax deductible. If you're going to the post office to mail a package, in your automobile log, you write that down, and that transportation is tax deductible. Utilities, again, in conjunction with your in-home office. Next. So this one is one of my favorites. Uncle Sam says he wants you to save tax dollars by stopping your kid's allowance. And why is that? Because what you do is put your children on the payroll. You can deduct the income paid to your children working in your business. And the advantage of that is their income is more likely to be taxed at a lower rate than that of the parent, and there's no Social Security or Medicare tax on that child's income. This is a very powerful tax savings. Next. So by doing that, this may even allow one of the parents to stay home with the children instead of using daycare. And we're going to attach a list. In fact, I think we have some of it shown later about the things that you can have your child do so that you can enjoy this powerful tax benefit. Let's go to the next page. So one of the benefits other than tax benefits is to allow your children to participate in your business, create jobs for them to do. So it teaches them about being entrepreneurs, understanding business. You know, as I said, that income will be taxed at a much lower rate normally. What we did, we set up checking accounts for our kids when they were very, very young. Our kids were 5, 6, and 10 when we got started, so maybe, I don't really remember, but I'm sure it was in a couple, 3 years. So they were under 15 years old when we set up their checking accounts, and we paid them. They put the money in their checking account, taught them how to balance their checkbook. They used those monies they earned to pay for any miscellaneous activities, music, sports fees, etc., those kinds of things. Okay? So let's talk about some of these listed activities. And again, it's a partial list. Age appropriate, as I said. For example, if you have a bathroom that needs cleaned for the meetings, you wouldn't probably have your 5-year-old, but your 12-year-old could do that. Replacing the displays, taking the display that your 12-year-old set up, you could have your 5-year-old put them back on the shelf. Preparing the protein shakes, cleaning the kitchen for the meetings, dusting the shelves. Of course, having them prospect, talking to their friends, parents, their teachers, etc. If you get an order coming to your house, you can have them check it in, unpack it. As they get older, our kids basically could almost run the business if we were out doing sessions or even out of town, answering the telephone, taking the messages, filling orders, and again, doing all the cleaning for the meetings. As they get older, of course, today it says prepare PowerPoints. They could prepare the PowerPoints a lot better than most of the parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and run the computer. And
that's right. Take computer lessons. Let's take a look at the next list. Snow removal. I mean, if they're shoveling snow off the driveway, that's part of the job for the business. They get paid for that. All the mailings, they can help do the mailings, stuff the envelopes, put the stamps on, rubber stamp the literature, collate packets, use all the Shackley paraphernalia with the Shackley logos on it as a means of advertising also. If you have people in your house that bring their kids, over in the right column it says babysit for leadership sessions. As the kids get older, they can take your younger kids that your builders brought in, take them to the playroom, basement, bedroom, whatever, and entertain them and babysit for them there. They would get paid for that. So all these kinds of activities, and Barb said we'll be attaching this sheet. And I was audited one time, audited a few times. The one time I had to make this list up for the auditor, and we made it up, and all those expenses that we took for child care were approved, no problem. Why? Because they just wanted documentation. They wanted proof. Okay? Next.
And may I just say something there, Allan, is that for those of us whose children have now grown up in a Shackley home, I will tell you that the benefit to the kids for being a part of our businesses and what they learn about business and social skills, answering the phone, greeting people at the door, just all these tasks that you are reviewing here. Those are wonderful things for kids to learn and be a part of. I know that people who homeschool, they often are encouraged to have a business from their home because it's so beneficial to the kids as part of their education.
Life lessons, not just tax benefits. Good point, Barb. Yes.
Allan, I have a quick question. How do you document? I mean, you can't just pay your kids and then say they've done these things. You've got to be able to, like you said, you were audited and you had proof. What was your proof? What did it look like?
Excellent point. Now, this, you may laugh at this, but when I go out to a restaurant today and have a business session, if it's over $75, you have to get a receipt from the restaurant. So on that receipt, you would write down the person that you were meeting with and the subject you talked about. And then you have your expense there in the restaurant. But if it's like for a coffee and a quick sandwich, it's a $20 bill, you don't need the restaurant receipt. So what I do, I use a piece of scratch paper, write down the name of the restaurant, the person, the topic discussed, and the amount, and I put that in my tax drawer on a piece of scratch paper. What we did with our kids on a piece of scratch paper, and I think after time I may have made up a little Excel table. I just wrote down their name, the number of hours they worked that day, if it was daily or weekly, the amount of pay, and if I paid them on that one, I wrote down the check number. That's it.
Okay.
And I had that list of jobs that they had. You don't have to have on that pay stub, for example, a particular job they did. Did that answer your question okay?
Yeah, because you're right. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, because you and I, if we were working for somebody else on our pay stub, it doesn't list exactly what we did.
Right.
If I'm working as an office manager or secretary or nurse or whatever. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Now, I'm sure there'll be people today who will put this into an Excel sheet. That's okay.
Yeah.
If you want to put it into a diary, that's okay. As long as it's documented some way that somebody else, the auditor, can look at and see. I used scratch paper. Okay.
Could use a notebook.
Funny, but it's true. Nice to do it today.
Man after my own heart.
So how do you think? Pardon me?
Carry on.
All right. So how do you take advantage of these tax savings and save money? Well, when you think of the tax benefits, I say think of them as another source of income, because when you save taxes, you're getting more income. Or think of it like a part-time job. You're going to be earning money by saving taxes. Or some people look at it as a game. But again, it's a game. We have rules, and you have to play according to the rules, and of course be legal and ethical, be diligent, and as I said previously, using a professional tax preparer. So the IRS requires, when you run a business, that you have an intent. See the bold there? You have the intent to make a profit. The key word is intent. If your business shows a loss for several years, you don't have to worry about it because you're trying to make a profit. You have the intent to make a profit. Okay? Mm-hmm. Next. So what do these activities include? Going back to what we said earlier, almost in reverse order, the routine activity of telling others about your products and the business is the activity. We call it prospecting. Attending meetings, calling prospects and customers and referrals, we call this follow-up. Using the products you're promoting, this is Shackleyizing your home. These activities which we are probably doing now on a regular, consistent basis are building the business and satisfying the tax laws. Okay? So next, Uncle Sam is reiterating, as we've discussed, he wants you to document. If you've got it documented, that's the key. As it says in the next page, it's simple. As we already discussed, it can be an Excel record sheet, an automobile record, a diary. I always encourage people to get a checking account if they haven't had a checking account before. Write your expenses using a check. That documents it very well. If you have a credit card, if you want to use a separate credit card, it's not required, but it's sometimes easier. You use that business credit card, you've documented your expenses. But keep in mind that if you're using a credit card, just that slip on the monthly statement probably is not enough. If you purchase something from the store, like a Staples, for example, or an Office Depot, and you have 6 things listed on the receipt from the store, but on your credit card statement it just says the name of the store and the amount, you should attach that store's receipt with the items listed to that credit card bill in case of an audit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Allan, could I ask a question also? When you were talking about Shackleyizing your home, would you discuss also, it is a tax, there's lots of tax deductions around our purchase of Shackley products. You want to talk about that for a second?
There are many ways that this is handled by different people. And again, you have to talk with your tax preparer how they will handle it. For example, some people say your 100 PV purchase a month is a tax-deductible expense because that's required to get a bonus. You and your tax preparer talk about that. Any products you use for testing, samples, demonstrations, new products, all those tax-deductible. And what we do is when we take a product off the shelf that we're going to use as a demo, I take my scratch paper, write down the product, and throw it into the cash drawer with the date on it. And that, at the end of the month, I just take those scratch papers and I put them into a purchase order. So keeping track of all those products can become tax deductible. Is that the kind of thing you were looking for, Barb?
Yes, and I'm, because that's big. You know, when not just new products, but even every year, if there are products that we need to evaluate, and sometimes formulas are updated, and so I actually have a form which we could attach. Joe, make a note there. I have a form because some of us who keep an inventory, you can do it off of what you order from Shackley as well, is we have a category for promotion because I give products away and samples and that kind of stuff. Evaluation, and I do a lot of that, and then personal use, because that is a separate tax category, and so we want to just track that because our use of Shackley products is critical to our businesses. So I'll attach that form also, and I'll send it to you, Al, too.
Okay, and while you mentioned that, you mentioned an inventory. An inventory of products, or a pantry as some people call it, a very good thing to have for many, many reasons. The biggest and best of which, in my opinion, is that if you have a consumer that wants a product right now, it's awfully convenient and good service if you can give it to them right now, out of your pantry or small inventory. And again, we're not talking $100,000 or a $10,000 inventory. It's a small inventory of products that when you want it or that consumer wants it, they can have it. But then for tax purposes, that is just another very strong indication that you have a business.
Right.
Okay?
That's what I was just going to say. That really validates your intent of having a business.
And take a picture of it.
Sure. Well, yeah. If you ever audited, most definitely. I mean, we had an audit one time. The guy came to our house. That was a very interesting experience. But it was all legal, and it was just the way it is. Okay. So as you can see, having a Shackley home-based business. Oh, we're on a different page here. Sorry.
Oh, you want me to go back?
That's okay. That's okay. And again, going back to Sanford Botkins, the light at the end of the tunnel, he says, is your home-based business. I'm sure everybody in this call understands this. But as we talk to prospects, we want them to understand that having that home-based business can be, as it says here, the single best financial move they could ever make financially. Keep in mind, the majority of people we're talking to are not business people that have million-dollar businesses. Most of the people we're talking about, if they have a small business or they're an employee, the Shackley business can be that single best financial move they could make tax-wise and many other reasons too. Next. So, I'm sure you've seen that the Shackley home-based business entitles you to many tax deductions, thousands of dollars. Can be thousands. We're not just throwing this around idly. Thousands of dollars that instead of paying it to Uncle Sam would be in your pocket. And again, the tax laws are business friendly, and they're very friendly to the large corporations that we see there. The only difference between them and you is size. So you want to take advantage of them, just like, as the saying goes, the big boys do.
And Allan, I want to make a comment about that because that is completely logical to me. Is that if you understand anything about economics and the economy, is that small businesses contribute to the economy. It contributes to the gross national products of our company. And everybody, when you begin to understand and read anything about business, is that there is risk involved to open a business. We are blessed because in our business it costs $699, but for most people, the first step in starting a business is a trip to the bank. And they've got to come up with hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to begin a business. I mean, even if it's an accounting business, if you're an attorney, a dentist, a medical a shop owner, it's like they have to. There's so much risk involved for them. They have to mortgage their homes, all of that, and so the government understands that there is risk involved, and so they want to make it as attractive as possible for people to be willing to do that. And so, especially for small businesses. So I appreciate that, and I understand it, and it seems totally logical to me, and like a very good practice for good economics for the company, or for the country. So that's why we have these favorable deductions because it's helpful to us. We're investing a lot of time up front in our business. We're blessed. We don't have to be millionaires to open our business, but we still invest some time and some money, I suppose. So all of that is being reimbursed to us and given us a break around that. So to me, I think that's the reason that they do it, and I appreciate it.
Right. The only thing I wouldn't do is refer to our businesses as small businesses, because our Shackley business can be a very large business in our personal situation. When you're talking to another person, I want them to get the feeling we've got a big business here. Okay?
Good point.
As Uncle Sam says, discuss with the person you're bringing in the benefit to them of their Shackley home-based business as far as tax benefits goes. On the next page, as we've talked about some of these tools that help you out, the separate business checking account. And again, if you're going to the bank, some banks will charge you more for a business account than a personal account. So what you want to do is open a personal account. You call it your business account. The bank, it's a personal account. It doesn't matter. But you're saving money that way. A separate business credit card can be beneficial, but if you're using the same one, just a little more carefully in documenting. But a credit card is a good thing. The mileage record book, what we do is we use a calendar. And we open the page that has the week on it. Each day, the week is on there. And I write down where I'm going, write down the mileage when I fill up with gas and the price, who I've seen that day. If I go to the post office or the post office box, just keep track of everything in that mileage record book. Your day planner, keeping track of your appointments. Again, if you're ever in an audit, presenting your mileage record book, your day planner, evidence that you're in business. Now, your phone record, if you have a separate phone line, it's not a problem. If you're using just one telephone, that can be a problem if you're ever audited. Not a big problem. Just, you may say that 50% of these calls, and the auditor may say 40%. Well, that's not a big deal. But if you know you have a specific person, long distance that you're talking to, or whatever, you can document that on your bill. Purchase orders for your test, demonstration, and sample products, as we talked about earlier. And to keep track of all this, a simple tax program, whether it's a Quicken, QuickBooks, or whatever, is very beneficial to make it easy. You put your tax categories in there, and they're in there for the duration of your business. Okay?
Yeah, Alan, I wanted to say something too here. With all of this, I think it can be, a little intimidating and even kind of scary. And I think the big bugaboo here for a lot of people is, oh my gosh, I don't want to go through a tax audit. Oh boy, I don't want to do any of this. It's going to jeopardize anything. And you mentioned you'd been through a tax audit. I've been through several of them, a couple of them too, I think, also. And they're actually no-brainers if you've done your documentation, as you've so well emphasized. So it's important to just, get a system, learn to use it, keep records, write down, just document everything you do. And if nothing else, get a daily journal and just start writing, in there what you've done in terms of making calls or meeting with people or coaching sessions. And then the audit thing is really not an issue, I don't think.
No, and the other thing is, we were audited one time 100 years ago. Never was a problem. Is that in our business, time is a huge resource for us, and we have to be very mindful of how we use it. And if there's one message, that's why we love having Alan share this information with us. It's that don't spend a lot of time on this. Just set up your systems.
Right.
I remember in the beginning, I was very intimidated by the whole idea of bookkeeping, accounting, and then I realized that there's only two aspects of this that you got to track. One is money going out, and there you do that with your checking account and your credit card statements and your receipts, and money coming in. That's it. And so that's the essence of bookkeeping and accounting. And so we have a file I have a drawer with a file folder in it, and I throw receipts in there.
Yep.
I don't spend any. I just throw it in there, and in December, we pull that file out, we dump it over the table, and we sort it into categories. It takes no time at all, and that's what we want to learn is be efficient with your time. You can spend a lot of time on paperworky stuff that does not advance your business at all. But the other point I want to underline that Alan was saying is that for people who are in middle incomes, this is the category in our country that's getting crunched in terms of their income advancement. That when you can speak to people who are in income levels that may be even higher than your own, this is a point to bring up with them about tax deductions. There are expenses we all have just in the process of owning our homes, having our phones, having our cars, and there are lots of reasons people have shackly businesses besides just to get out of debt. There are a lot of wonderful reasons why many of us feel called to this work and love it. And so just be aware of that. Tax deductions can be a major incentive for someone to take a look at a home business.
Correct. I think one more point I want to cover, I think Joe mentioned about being afraid. Keep in mind that when you do your taxes, if you're not doing anything illegal, like if you're not reporting your income, if you're doing something illegal, you got a problem, period. Like if people pay you money and you don't report that, that's going to be a problem. But if you're doing things in your knowledge that are legal, and ethical and making your best effort, and you're ever audited, and the auditor finds out that there are mistakes, keep in mind, the mistakes, if they're mistakes in the IRS favor, are just going to cost you some money that you would have paid anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But also keep in mind that there could be mistakes the other way.
Yep.
Maybe you didn't take all these expenses, and they're not going to intentionally look for it for you, the auditor, but maybe they came across it, and you see we got this additional deduction. Then it can also go the other way. So as long as you're not doing anything illegal, there's really nothing to fear. Because
Good
if you
point.
had to pay the money, you would have had to pay it anyway. Okay? All right. Let's take a look at some of these free forms from the government. Publication 17 they come out with every year. It's a very comprehensive tax guide. I wouldn't spend a lot of time reading it and analyzing it, but it's a good thing to have. If you have a question, the answer is most likely to be in there. There's another publication for small businesses. There's a travel, entertainment, gift, and car expense publication, a business publication. And if you get your 1040 Schedule C, if you look on Schedule C, they've got categories already made for you that I would use those categories, then add any categories that are specific to your business or our Shackley business. And the instructions to do that Schedule C also have some help there. So you have all this free stuff available for you, and you can do that at your local IRS office or irs.gov on the website, irs.gov. I guess if you ever do this again, I should put that on there.
Yeah.
I'll add it.
Or you could have a tax preparer and you pick up the phone and call him and ask them the questions.
Right.
You don't have to worry about those.
Keep in mind, all those expenses for that tax preparer are what?
Tax
Deductible.
Right. Okay, so you have a choice. We've talked about this. You can feel overwhelmed or be self-assured. You're powerful and self-assured. You can feel intimidated, but be confident. You have a wonderful team working with you, your tax preparer and your kids who are helping you keep track of your expenses. You can feel scared or you can be excited. The journey, the Shackley business journey, is a very exciting journey, isn't it?
Yes.
You bet.
So Uncle Sam says, I want you to consult your tax preparer and take advantage of all the tax benefits that are available to you. And on this April 15th, as somebody said, it's a good time to be talking about this because we'll be coming up to the time when it's time to, as they say, pay the piper. But keep in mind, with a Shackley business, usually it's more money back for you as opposed to more taxes for the government.
That's right.
Now, there are a lot of things which we didn't cover, for example, paying quarterly taxes, incorporated or not, of those kinds of things. And those are questions that you really want to be discussing with your tax preparer.
Thank you, Alan. Very nicely done.
If you have any questions, we can take some questions, I guess.
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Okay, I just want to add, too, that it's worth it to have a tax advisor, in my opinion, especially when you have your own home-based business, because they know what they're doing. They are skilled. You can call them at any point and ask them questions about, is this a write-off or how do I do this? And they will help you. I know that our tax advisor has told me about things that I didn't even know about that can save our family money. So definitely look into that. I think it's so much easier than buying one of those programs and trying to figure it all out yourself. That's just personally my opinion. But I think that they are skilled in that and they will help you to save money, and they know what they're doing. So the action steps, do you want to do questions now, Barb, or should I do the action steps first?
Do the action step. I'm making a note of the questions. We'll have it in 1 second.
Okay. Well, that was awesome. I loved everything, and I learned even more things that I'm so excited to get my kids one day involved in the business. I think that's so neat to be able to involve your kids in that, and they learn so many life skills as well. But as we think about all of these tax benefits, it's important to write and have your computer set up with an accounting program like Quicken or an Excel document where you can keep track of everything and try and stay organized. I know at the end of last year I committed to, okay, this year I'm going to stay a little bit more on top of things and keep things organized. So I just have an envelope system, and I just put all of my receipts in one envelope. And what I'm going to try and do is at the end of each month organize everything. Otherwise, what happens is it gets to the end of the year and you're trying to do the whole year, and that's just really hard. But sometimes even just breaking it down, maybe even into weekly or monthly, can help you too. Also setting up your Shaklee checking account and separating your Shaklee credit card to help you track your Shaklee businesses. This was something that I didn't do right away, and I'm so glad that now we have a separate account. It keeps the ins and the outs so clear, especially for husbands who might be a little bit more analytical and need to see some of that documentation. It's helpful to do that. Documentation is so important. Keep receipts, keep copies of everything, write everything down, write things in your planner, write things on your calendar. I actually just went to OfficeMax this week because normally our tax advisor gives us a mileage record book that you can keep in your car, but my husband forgot to get it when he met with him. So I just picked one up. I think it was like only $3 or $4. I keep it in my car, and then that way every time I travel somewhere, I write down where I'm going and the mileage I use. And you'll be surprised at how many miles you can put on your car and the expense that you'll be able to save on that. And then as we think about the 2016 trip qualifications that just started in March, it's important to start creating your plan and review your qualifications, talk with your upline, create a plan to get you there, put it on paper, place it on your fridge, start putting pictures of Cabo and of Italy on your fridge so that you can walk by and see it every day, and begin planning for that. We want to reach coordinator by September, and if you want to go to Italy, you want to become executive coordinator by September.
Good. Yay. Okay. Now a few questions. There was a question about when to take tax deductions. This is now March of 2015. So the all the expenses we have for our businesses in 2015, we are recording now, as Marie asked this question, to become deductions next April when we pay our taxes for of income earned in 2015. So you can't sponsor somebody now and have them take tax deductions now because that all closed on December 31st, right? So today we're paying taxes now in April for deductions that were earned in 2014. And then you also asked about the Moms Group. Ever since the August conference, there has been this wonderful trend throughout our company for people to come together in support groups. You saw what Ashley shared that she did if you came on our pre-call today and got to hear that wonderful story about Ashley McDonald and the support groups that she's been creating on Facebook with her Shaklee 180 members, but there's a group of moms, and there's several now that also work together, and so it's just a wonderful idea. So that's what she was referring to. Joe, you want to take on a couple of the other ones?
Yes. Suzanne said that, just a heads up, when they were audited, I think their dry cleaning expenses after a business trip were denied. I think you have to have those cleaning expenses before you go on the trip. At least I know that's what I've done in its past. Why scratch paper? Well, you could keep things in a notebook too. I think, Alan, you use scratch paper because it's handy?
Basically, yes.
Yeah, but scratch paper is not the corner of an envelope. He just means a piece of paper that is not a preformed, graph of some sort. You can
actually get report books too. At OfficeMax, or you can go on Amazon. In fact, if somebody has a really good one, I would love to know, because I've been searching on Amazon. There's a lot of different kinds, but you can actually just log that in. Laura Gugi told me about that, and record all of your expenses on an actual book that you buy.
Yeah, and you could even make one. Just do it up as a Word document. I mean, they're just... what's important is that you have documentation. The form it's in isn't that important.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that you have it. Now, some of these are questions that we really cannot answer because we are not tax preparers or accountants. Someone's asking about, they have an adult child that they pay in products for her help. I keep a list of the hours she works. Can I deduct the amount of product? Does she have to claim it as income? You really need to check with a tax preparer for that.
Suzanne, go ahead. Go ahead, Alan.
The only comment I want to make on that is that, again, whatever income one earns, you really are supposed to report that to the IRS.
Right.
But if you're giving somebody $600 or more, then you are required to give them a 1099, and then therefore they would be required to report that, or that's a really illegal thing to do if they don't. So if you're giving that adult child products, if it's over $600, you probably should
for the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
You need to be giving them a 1099 if you want to take a tax deduction. If you don't want to take a tax deduction, you can give anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So it's not. It doesn't have to be income for that. It's just a gift in effect for the. And Suzanne also mentioned when we were talking about having a separate credit card for our business, that is not. There actually is something called a business credit card, and she said don't get that. Get a personal credit card that you use for your business, because she said there's additional liability somehow for a business credit card. So not sure why, but yes, well that's what Suzanne Cheney says right here. Okay.
Wow.
Question saying, some master coordinators have incorporated their businesses. I'd appreciate hearing the thoughts of you masters on whether or when that is a good approach.
Well, it's based on the amount of taxable income, and I don't know the exact amount, but I'm guessing if you're making under $50,000 in taxable income, it's not a matter of discussion, really. If you're making over that, then you talk to your preparer. Keep in mind that when you do that, there's additional costs to incorporate. There's additional costs for record keeping. So
right.
It depends on how much money you're making. That's why
we have opted not to do that because it's a lot more.
Yeah, it's involved.
It's involved. It's a lot more paperwork. It's a lot more stuff.
Yeah, we opted not to do that also.
Mm-hmm.
We are not incorporated either.
Well, there you go.
Well, now you know.
Some have thought it was a good idea.
I just want to say, Alan.
That saying goes.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that this was so good, and I'm really excited because I think I'm going to be able to communicate the tax benefits of our businesses better, and really I think I'm missing out on having that be a draw for people. So I just wanted to say thank you because I'm wrapping my head around some better language as far as communicating to people the benefits here. It was really good.
So. Yeah. Now, couple of questions, Alan, around that 100 PV monthly order, about if you were to use that as a tax deduction, what would that look like? How would you record that?
Okay, if your preparer was working along those lines, you'd make out a purchase order for your 100 PV products, and let's just use round numbers and say it's $130. Then times 12, that's roughly $1,500 of product that you purchased. That would be a tax deduction. So if you're in the 20% tax bracket, that means of those $1,500, 20% of that, or $300, you would save in paying taxes.
Yeah.
Isn't that a good thing?
It is a good thing. And by the way, I will put in a little plug for the SBOSS computer system, which I love, because I think that is still $99, isn't it? And
yes.
It's the easiest thing in the world to track expenses. When you enter what your customers in it, one of our categories is promotion, another category is evaluation, and another one is what else do I have? Anyway, personal use. And so we have the categories right in there. So I just push a button, and then all of that is recorded for me and tracked. So it's so easy. I just love that program. So it's the Shackley Business Office Software System, S Boss. That's where it comes from.
Great.
All right. Anything else, Joe? And questions? I cannot believe we're actually wrapping up early.
Somebody's asking, what specifically would your doctor have to write in order for you to deduct your Shackley products for medical reasons? Again, I'm not a tax preparer, so I don't know if any of us could really answer that.
Someone also asked about the cost of looking professional. Hair, nails, clothes, is that deductible?
No, you cannot do. I'm saying no because.
Nice try, Donna, though. I really like that. Wouldn't that be nice?
Every time you get a haircut.
Yeah. Oh, I drop a few dollars over there a lot, yeah. Now, if you're prospecting, when you're going to the hairdresser and sitting there for 45 minutes and having a chat, that's something else.
I wouldn't try that.
Once. Oh, mercy. Okay.
Here's a good one, though, about giving away product to a few people. Is that a gift? No, do not put it under a gift, because gift deductions have to, as I understand it, have to meet. What I should say is our tax preparer has told us to minimize entries into a gift category. And in our business, we can take promotion or advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the reasons is that if you're giving somebody a gift, you're limited to $25 per year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not much. Wow.
A question about inventory, Allan. When you have an inventory and that purchase is an expense, is it necessary to keep track of what is a sample and demonstration since the order goes into inventory? Yes. I'll attach my form for that, Linda. So whenever we take something off the shelf, we either write down in the category. We have just a sheet of paper, and we just check: is it for personal use? Is it for evaluation? Is it for promotion or demonstration? So we'll attach.
About that, with the demonstration, if you have products out on display at an event, can you write those off?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but not if they go back into your inventory and then you sell them.
Well, what if you personal, like,
right.
For example, if you have protein out, if you have Vitalizer out, you had an event, people came by, you show them the box, you show them the strip.
Yeah, because you had to buy those for
absolutely.
your. Yeah, that's an expense. Sure enough. Yeah. Good point. Okay.
I know that.
Oh, that's what you're asking over here. Okay. Okay, I hope I'm getting all these questions, Joe. Anything else you see that we need to? Okay, let's see. There's something here about Suzanne.
Where can we get S-Boss?
Oh, S-Boss.
From Shackley.
Yeah, just call the ordering people and.
And I actually accidentally had it show up. You can actually do it on the form online right now. Just type in S-Boss. It pulls it up, $99. Mm. Under the Quick Shop. Mm. Someone wants to do it that way.
Someone's asking about gifts for downline at Christmas. I wouldn't put it as a gift. I'd put it as a recognition category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. All right, we got the S-Boss. All right. Oh, gosh. All right, I think we got most of your questions. Thank you, everybody. Thanks. And Allan.
Yes.
You are the most
My pleasure to be here.
Oh, you're really. Joe, let's go to, all right, let's tell them a little bit about the calendar coming up.
Yeah, March 19th, next week, we're going to do a planning and strategy, how to do a planning and strategy session, and particularly now since we're at the very beginning of the qualification period for the new incentive trips, it's a timely topic to discuss right now. Then March 26th, our very own Lisa Anderson is going to do key elements of home meetings, right, Lisa?
Yep. It'll be good.
April 2nd, no webinar because Barb's in Mexico and many people have spring break that week. And so we're just going to take a little break for all of us. at that time. And then we're going to come back, and I'm excited about this. April 9th and April 16th, we're going to do Director Development Part 1 and Part 2, how teams are built through attraction. And the second one, Part 2, is on the critical role of coaching our business builders into leaders. 2
areas where we can lose a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And there's some wonderful skills to learn. You know, the skills that we will want to develop directors are different than the skills that develop customers. And so let's start to drill down on that a bit.
Yep.
Okie
Good
dokie.
stuff.
And then I think we have the Monday Night Wellness webinar schedule up there, Joe, and a couple of slides too, if you want to click to those somewhere. We still don't have March 30th. We'll have a real specific topic for you soon on that one.
So this coming Monday, the 16th, it's going to be on optimal nutrition for optimal pregnancy. Great. We got 2 of our young moms that'll be talking about that. March 23rd, natural approaches to allergies, and that's very timely. We're doing that in March because already this year, like I know here in Minnesota,
they're sneezing. Sneezing already.
People are saying it. And then the last Monday of the month, the power of our profession for
somebody. Okay, well, surprise, we'll figure that out. And by the way, Steve did a fantastic presentation on Monday on detoxing, and I have had such a response from people in our group who had invited guests to that, who just said, in fact, Katie, I think you had somebody, right, who attended and wanted the whole program afterwards?
I think it's very common that people want to get rid of toxins in their body and looking for a detox option. So a lot of people have been interested in that.
And the next day, Jean Zabindin did and Lynn Mathena, I think, did a detox Facebook event, and they got customers from that as well. So this is the time of year for that topic as well. So that will be archived soon at betterhealthin31days.com, where it's also available, by the way, in podcast. You just have to download a podcast app. Whatever an app is. Okay. All right, everybody. And then, Joe, I was just thinking maybe we could close with that. No, maybe I can forward it to next week. That wonderful quote from Harper Guerra.
Yeah.
We'll save it for next week. But Harper, we have a Facebook post of the week, and we have this wonderful post from Harper about the power of the team. Really, it was really lovely. We wanted to share it with you. All right, it's a wrap. Thank you, Uncle Allan, and thanks everybody for joining us. We will see you all next week. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you, Ashley McDonald. Oh, she is a peach. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.